Good morning. It is now about 7:30 on Tuesday. I just finished getting warmed up before heading down to the gym. I'm gonna get a quick workout in this morning because I have my orthodontist appointment at 9 o'clock. I'm going to be meeting with my orthodontist to go over what the two oral surgeons said and kind of discuss what our next steps are or what we want to do now and maybe in the next few months. I also wasn't feeling super great overall yesterday, and my Oura ring had shown some more signs of less good recovery than normal. And also today a little bit, taking it a little bit easier, low-key workout today. I also don't have a ton of time before I have to head to my orthodontist, but still want to get some kind of movement in. Finished with my orthodontist appointment, and we'll give a more thorough update a little bit later because I'm now actually at the chiropractor. I need to run into my appointment here, but the gist of it is that we are going to kind of do the wait and see plan, give it a few months and then do another scan and see what's going on. So for now, not going to do any more Invisalign, just going to hold the ones that I have because we don't want to introduce any other changes and then kind of like not necessarily know what is affecting what. But she also felt comfortable with like, don't need to do anything immediately. We'll wait and see if there are any other changes that happen or if I start to get symptomatic or anything. But my orthodontist agreed with both of the oral surgeons that it's nothing to lose sleep over. I don't need to be like super worried about it or feel like I have to make a decision really quickly. We did talk about a few other things, but I will go into more detail a little bit later. Okay, I'm home from my orthodontist and chiropractor appointments. A little more detail on what I talked about with my orthodontist. We scheduled another appointment for like about 6 months from now to do a repeat scan, and we're just gonna kind of be on hold until then unless I have any other symptoms or things that I start to notice that are problematic. So I was mentioning to her that like I don't have everyday discomfort in that area where the cyst is. It's not something that bothers me. I don't usually notice it, but from time to time I will get some pressure or pain in that area. It's just very intermittent. Or like I had a cold a couple of weeks ago, and when I had some sinus pressure, I would feel it more in that area, but it's definitely not like an everyday thing, so I don't feel like it's really something that's bothering me at the moment. The other thing she said to just kind of pay attention to was if I felt like my bite was changing, because we did also talk about how the position of where that cyst is and if it is growing, putting a little bit of pressure on the roots of my teeth on this right side of my molars where I've had noticeably more contact on that side for quite a while, and it's been kind of hard to get that to adjust, like even having done all this Invisalign for a while now, the change has been kind of small, and we're wondering if because of that cyst where it's located and the fact that it has gotten bigger, if it has continued to put more pressure on that side, on those teeth. That might be both why I was experiencing the bite changes in the first place and also why we haven't really had a lot of success with the Invisalign in terms of making progress on that. So if I really start to notice anything changing there, we might have to take a look at that again sooner. And then of course there is also the possibility that the cyst could get smaller or kind of go away on its own. I'm not sure if, given what both of these oral surgeons talked to me about and like what they pointed out in the scan, if it is a cyst that is growing that's kind of because of the surgeries that I had. I think it's maybe less likely that it would just sort of go away on its own, but I guess we can hope. That would be the easier route for sure, which is also kind of why we decided just to hold off on doing anything right now and give it a little bit more time and give us a chance to do another comparison scan in the future. And for me also, it gives me a little bit more time to like consider what I want to do if I do need to have a biopsy or further procedure at some point down the road. I want to get a little more familiar with like what that process would be, not feel like I'm rushing into that if I do have to do something. So I feel like this just gives me some more time to think about it and like maybe talk to some other people, maybe even get another opinion if needed. But everybody agreed that it's nothing that needs immediate attention. On a different note, I'm just about to make some lunch and I haven't shared my meals all that much, mostly because I really do tend to eat a lot of the same things over and over again. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about the other day, like having pretty solid routines, especially around my health and wellness habits, in part because I know what tends to work best for me and like give me the best chance of feeling pretty good on a day-to-day basis. I feel like, especially with food and meals and stuff, that it also kind of eliminates like a confounding variable, because by keeping my meals pretty consistent, I can kind of rule that out as a factor. So like if I have a really bad day, or maybe I have a day where my gut issues are really intense, or I'm doing this parasite protocol right now, if I also had really changed the way that I ate at the same time, I wouldn't really know what was affecting what and whether it's the parasite treatment or the difference in what I'm eating. So I think partly I've just really tried to keep food really simplified, and when I find things that I like and that I know my body tends to handle well, it ends up on repeat for quite a while. That said, I do make sure that within those meals, I'm getting a wide variety. So I'm not just like eating the same 4 or 5 foods over and over again. Within a day or within a week, I might have quite a bit of variety. I know I'm getting macronutrients and the micronutrients that I need. And it also just kind of helps eliminate like some level of decision making and mental fatigue, because I'm not thinking that much about what I'm eating. I know the foods that work for me, the foods that I like and enjoy and that help me reach my goals. And I'm not like reinventing the wheel every day and like trying to figure out what am I going to have for breakfast, what am I going to have for lunch, what I'm going to have for dinner. I sort of have these certain things in mind or already prepped, and just makes it easier for me in a lot of ways. And also I don't mind. Like I know some people really might not like eating the same things over and over again. And if that's you, you know, you do you. But for me, this has really worked well. So I thought I would share one of the meals that has been on repeat for me for quite a while. Usually what happens with me is like I'll have some kind of meal that I make, I'll repeat it over and over again because I like it and it's easy, and then I might like adapt one little part of it or try something just a little bit different, and then it kind of like slowly will morph over time, but I'm not making like a lot of big changes to what I'm eating on a day-to-day basis. So this is one of the lunches that I've been eating quite a bit lately and probably will continue eating for quite a while. So whenever I'm planning my meals, I really try to focus first on macronutrients, getting a good amount of protein, some form of carbs, and some form of healthy fats, and also a variety of micronutrients like in the form of colorful fruits and veggies. So I have basically sort of a chicken salad mixed with this Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce, which I really like. All of the Primal Kitchen sauces and condiments and stuff, because they have very good simple ingredients. And also have some pickled onions and microgreens in there for the micronutrients. And I kind of make like lettuce wraps out of it. Again, more micronutrients and fiber in the lettuce and pickles. Have some avocado as well for the healthy fats. And it's hard to tell, but there's a lot of cilantro in there. I know some people hate it, but it also helps support liver detoxification, which is a nice bonus. Have a hard-boiled egg for a little bit of extra protein and nutrients. My carb sources are a piece of gluten-free bread and some grapefruit. Despite the tiny size of gluten-free bread, which is kind of the one downside, I really like this one. I think it's literally just buckwheat flour, water, and salt are the only ingredients. It tastes like sourdough bread. Like it's really good, even though the pieces are tiny. And yeah, this is just something that is like easy to put together. You can mix up the veggies or fruits a little bit to get a different variety of micronutrients. Sometimes I'll do like a tuna salad version or smoked salmon instead of chicken. Even though I might sort of create the same thing over and over again, there's a little bit of variation in it, and there's enough variety within it that I know I'm getting a lot of good macro and micronutrients. It's a few days later, but I realized I never went over my lab test results that I did I guess it was a couple weeks now at this point. I talked about my DEXA scan and getting those results back, but I'd also done some blood work, mostly just rechecking things that we kind of keep an eye on regularly. And there wasn't anything too exciting, honestly, because the tests we did were mostly things that we're retesting fairly frequently. Didn't really expect there to be big changes, but there were a couple things that were kind of interesting to note. So I thought I would just go through these really quickly. So we tested my testosterone, that was in the normal range, and that has trended pretty much the same. It looks like since about 2019, there hasn't been a lot of change and it's been in the normal range. And the nice thing too is that because we've tested these things for quite a while and it does track the trends over time, I can look at basically like where I was since 2013 until now and see on a graph like what it looks like. My testosterone levels were quite a bit higher about 10 years ago, and then they dropped a bit and kind of have leveled off since then, but still been in a normal range and have been pretty much the same since it looks like about 2019. We also did my progesterone, which I am on progesterone medication every day. This one is always a little confusing to me because I am basically on hormone replacement therapy to moderate symptoms more than anything, to kind of help with sleep, brain fog, energy levels. And the way that these test results break it down is they kind of put it in different categories, whether you're at a certain place in your cycle or if you're pregnant or postmenopausal. I feel like I sort of don't fall into any of those categories because I guess I'm not technically postmenopausal, but I also haven't had a period basically for like 15 years. So like I said, we're using the hormone replacement therapy to manage symptoms at this point. Once I started the hormone therapy, obviously my levels went up because if I look back at about 2016, they were extremely low. Like I basically had almost no progesterone at all. Added in the medication, got back up to a level that is within a reasonable range and really does help me with my symptoms. We also did a couple of tests of liver enzymes. Those are both normal, have been tracking normal for quite some time and really have been pretty much the same, so nothing very exciting there. The two that kind of showed up a little bit abnormal. First one is my cholesterol, which is still high and has been high also for quite some time. This is something that my naturopath has been tracking for quite a while. I guess the good news is it has basically stayed the same for many years. It is elevated, but it's not getting worse, and it's never really been something that we've decided to directly address because my doctor feels like it is just a side effect of other things that are going on for me. Sure, we could treat it with a medication, but that wouldn't really be helping us figure out what is affecting my cholesterol and kind of why it's happening. You need cholesterol also to produce hormones, and because all my hormone levels tend to be low, I don't necessarily want to bring that number down and also then potentially be further affecting how well my body is able to produce hormones. So even though that cholesterol number is maybe not ideal, it's just something we continue to track for now, but haven't really felt the need to be aggressively targeting that. The other thing that showed up a little bit high was my vitamin D levels, which this is also sort of an interesting number to consider because I feel like in the realm of naturopathic medicine or functional medicine, oftentimes the ranges that they will consider normal or ideal are different from what sort of the conventional medical system will tell you is normal or ideal. Or I guess I should say, I think for the most part in the conventional medical system, the levels that you're looking at as normal can often be more like the minimum levels that you really need to basically survive, not necessarily what is going to help you feel your best or perform your best or optimize your health overall. So sometimes there is a discrepancy between what like my naturopath will feel is a good level for me to be at and what more traditional medical system might say. So this number is flagged as high, but I am guessing that my naturopath is A, not going to be worried about it, or B, actually going to be happy with that result because we do not want my vitamin D to be low. Again, it's another thing that just like contributes to so many other functions in the body. Obviously, there would be a point where like there is a level that is too high, but I think especially where I live in the winter, very hard to get sunlight exposure. I do supplement with vitamin D, and having a number that maybe is like slightly higher, especially considering I am supplementing and I can pretty easily like lower the dosage of my supplement if needed. I'm not concerned about this. I don't think my doctor is going to be concerned about this and might even see it as a good thing. Obvious disclaimer here, I'm not a doctor. None of this is medical advice. I'm just going off my own experience, what I know from talking about my specific situation. Everybody's different. Everybody has different goals or different situations. So always always check with your own doctor on these things. Don't start supplementing with something out of nowhere without checking your own numbers or talking with your healthcare provider, etc. We also tested my estrogen. This is another one where, again, I am not exactly sure like if there is a certain range or number that my doctor feels like is a good place for me to be. I am also on hormone replacement therapy with an estrogen medication. It is a compounded medication. It's made specifically for me based on what my doctor has prescribed. Again, mostly using it to manage symptoms, to help with bone health, like I've mentioned before. But at least at this point, it seems like we're in a good spot because my bone health has gotten better over the past couple of years. And I do feel like it has also really helped with symptom management, just in terms of helping with brain fog and helping with general energy levels. Like, it's not gonna make all the difference in the world on my energy, but getting that level back up a little bit did definitely help with like the extreme fatigue that I was feeling previously. And I think we're at a good place right now where we have a balance kind of between my estrogen and progesterone, and we're able to keep those levels pretty steady. We also did one thyroid test just for TSH. Usually when I'm doing testing with my naturopath, if we're doing more extensive thyroid testing, we will include several other tests, but this endocrinologist that I see usually just tests my TSH. That is just one measure of thyroid though, and doesn't necessarily look at how my body is actually using the thyroid or like converting it into usable form. So just because that number is normal, this is also another area where conventional medicine might differ from a more functional or integrative approach, because this particular doctor usually only looks at TSH levels and then will say, oh, your TSH is in the normal range, therefore your thyroid is normal. But if my body's not actually converting that thyroid to usable form, then it's not helping me that much. That's probably why I still have a lot of fatigue. And this is where it could also be kind of frustrating, because you could have doctors saying your labs look normal, but they're only looking at one number, and you might still feel like crap, but you're being told that there's nothing wrong. And that's ultimately why I started seeing my naturopath and kind of focusing more on an integrative or functional medicine approach, because it just made a lot more sense to me and goes a lot deeper, I feel like, into what is actually going on in your body and matching that up with how you feel subjectively, instead of just maybe looking at like one test result and like telling you you're fine. My TSH levels are normal. Historically, they have actually been quite a bit lower than this, which was always interesting, because if we looked at other measurements of my thyroid would still be low, indicating that I needed to increase the dose of thyroid medication I was on, but my TSH would also be low, which could indicate that I was on too high of a dose. So it was just this really weird contradictory trends that were happening at the same time. So interesting to see that my TSH is in the normal range on this test. This was the only thyroid test we did, but still be kind of curious to hear what she has to say about the TSH levels, and also maybe compare that to other testing we've done in the past. Those are all the tests we did. I already talked about the DEXA scan. Bone density looks good. That's really reassuring. One other thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about bone density and like how I was able to improve my bone density over a few years, going from a previous diagnosis of osteopenia and almost osteoporosis to normal, or like basically healthy bone density levels. I really should have mentioned that nutrition is another key area that I think really was a factor for me in being able to increase that bone density. Yes, supplementation is important, or at least it was for me in that scenario. I think I still needed that additional supplemental support. And like I mentioned, the hormone therapy to help with that, and things like strength training, weight-bearing exercise to put enough stress on my bones to actually stimulate bone growth. But supplements can only take you so far if your actual nutritional intake is not adequate. And that's why I really focus on like getting enough protein, enough macro and micronutrients on a daily basis, and just like making sure that if I am putting that stress or stimulus on my bones through things like strength training, and I am getting that extra supplemental support to fill in any gaps, I am also like literally giving my body the building blocks it needs to create more bone and build that bone density by getting my nutrition right. And there definitely was a time in the past, like probably in those years, where my bone density was getting worse and I didn't know it, but like I was really not focused on nutrition in the same way that I am now, and I didn't really understand the importance of protein and how much I actually needed on a day-to-day basis. And now it's it's kind of become second nature to me to know what I need and how to get that every day. And also, as a nutrition coach and personal trainer, I've worked with a lot of women in the past, and one of the biggest things that I came across again and again was essentially not getting enough protein or struggling to get enough protein on a daily basis. And I really do think that's a big part of really reaching any kind of like performance or health goals, but definitely if you are looking to build bone density and maintain muscle mass, all of those things that are going to decline with age in general, and like we're going to need to be more intentional about those things. So yeah, just wanted to kind of add that in. Nutrition is going to be another key aspect for building bone density, maybe especially or specifically getting enough protein so your body has the ability to build and maintain that bone density. If you have any other questions about that, again, I'm not a doctor, but I am a nutrition coach and personal trainer, and happy to answer any questions that I can within my scope of practice. My sleep was a little disrupted last night. It was hard to fall asleep because I actually had a little bit of a GI flare-up, which that's the first time that's happened since I've been on this parasite protocol. Thankfully, it didn't escalate and like totally ruin my night's sleep, but it definitely took me a while to fall asleep, and I feel a little less recovered than I usually would. Just finished a little active recovery cardio workout this morning, and I actually have somebody coming sometime this morning or in the next few hours to set up a new TV. I finally decided it was time to upgrade the not so great TV that I've had for like 15 years, and somebody's just gonna come basically hook everything up and make sure it's working properly. That might actually be them calling right now. Hang on. They actually just called me and they're on their way. So I just have to get the TV like unboxed and plugged in, get the old one moved out of the way, and then we'll get it set up. New TV is all set up and working. This is one of the frame TVs, so you can make it look like artwork instead of just using it as a TV, which I don't even use my TV all that much. If I'm watching something like on Netflix, I'm usually just watching it on my computer. So I like the idea that I could have something on here that didn't make the black TV kind of the focal point of the room. And I'm so glad I had somebody come set it up because it definitely was more complicated than I would have thought. And he even spent a lot of extra time like switching around some of the wires and stuff so that nothing was showing or like going into the wall above the TV, because this TV is a little smaller than the last one I had and it's not mounted onto the wall. So anyway, that was really awesome. Still need to do a little bit of touch-up painting from where the old TV was wall mounted, but I think that's going to be a tomorrow project. Okay, back in the sauna. Apparently this is where I do all of my best reflecting. But a quick update, because this past week has been interesting. When I say interesting, I mean extremely uncomfortable. So Tuesday was my orthodontist appointment where we discussed what the oral surgeon said and decided to just kind of put everything on hold for now, not do any more Invisalign, wait a few months to do another scan and see if anything has changed with the cyst and whether we needed to do anything about it at that point or if it was potentially going away on its own or whatever. With the one caveat being that if I were to start having symptoms because of it, might have to address things a little bit sooner. But I really haven't had any symptoms. Like occasionally I might feel a little bit of pressure there, but nothing that was really bothering me or affecting me day to day. And literally like the day after I had this appointment with my orthodontist, so the day after Wednesday through now Sunday, just seemed like out of nowhere had really, really intense discomfort. Basically right where that cyst is. It's sort of hard to describe because I feel like when you have pain, especially like on your face or in your teeth or mouth, it kind of like makes your whole head feel uncomfortable. But it basically feels like I have a lot of pressure like right on these teeth that are where that cyst is, which is also what was kind of showing up on the scan, was that the cyst was starting to sort of encroach on the roots of those teeth. So it kind of feels like all of my teeth on that side hurt, but it also kind of feels like, I don't know, like I got punched in the face or something, because it's like this whole side of my face has been so uncomfortable. It now is painful to chew on that side, or basically to chew in general. And yeah, I don't know what happened, like why that would just sort of happen overnight and all of a sudden have this really, really intense discomfort. We'll say it's a little bit better today. Like the last couple of days, it has been quite bad to the point where I was sort of like, I don't know how long I could handle this level of discomfort and like might really need to do something about this sooner than later. So I'm hoping that because it's gotten a little better today, maybe this is just some weird thing that has occurred and that's gonna like dissipate. But even if it does go away, I'm just gonna be like worried that it's going to happen again or that it means something, you know, sort of not great is going on. But also I guess I'm just like a little worried that it could potentially do damage to those teeth or the roots of those teeth or something. It's also been a little bit like painful to the touch on my cheek and even gotten like a little bit itchy at times. So it just feels like it's gotten inflamed for whatever reason. And I really was thinking like that I had some time to do a little more research into this or like talk to some more people, just make sure that I really felt comfortable with what my options were going forward in terms of doing a biopsy or doing any kind of treatment that might be needed. Did not and do not want to have to like rush into this or like do something quickly without feeling like I've had a chance to consult with some other people or get even like a third or fourth opinion. Not necessarily because I think that like what the surgeons I've talked to so far are wrong about what it is or what we need to do. I just feel like there might also be alternative approaches to how to treat this potentially. I did get the name of an oral surgeon from another doctor that I trust and have been contacting them about maybe doing like a virtual consultation, again, just to kind of get another perspective on how these cysts are treated or like what my options might be if I do need to have some kind of oral surgery. I think because I've had repeated surgeries already in that area, I know I have scar tissue, my gums and stuff, and I know I also don't have a ton of bone like in my jaw there. I want to be really, really careful or know that whoever is doing this surgery or like whatever procedures we end up doing, they're done really carefully and that the person doing them like really understands my situation and surgical history and all of that and can really like do a good job, I guess. And I would hate to like do something immediately and then find out later that, oh, there were other options that I could have looked into or, you know, maybe like quote unquote better ways to treat this or something like that. I just don't feel like I have enough information yet to feel comfortable moving forward. But I also don't want to be like in extreme discomfort for a long time while I'm trying to gather that information or talk to more people. So right now I'm not entirely sure what to do. I'm glad it's not as uncomfortable today as it has been. And I have reached out to 2 other people whose opinions I would really like to get and I would trust on this kind of situation, either to just like confirm what I have already heard or if they were to say that they have like an entirely different protocol for doing this kind of thing, that would probably make me reconsider or like want to get more information or get more consultations or thoughts, opinions. At the very least, I would like to hear what they have to say before I start making any other decisions. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, just trying to figure out how quickly I might need to do something if I am going to be this uncomfortable, or if this is going to continue to linger or maybe get worse or whatever. It also does make me think that this really could be contributing to or be the cause of the bite issues that I'm having on the right side, because as that pressure has increased and I'm like feeling it more, it really is like directly on the teeth where I have too much contact or like more contact on this right side. It just feels very correlated between the discomfort I'm feeling and kind of the bite issue I'm experiencing, which on the one hand is maybe a little bit reassuring that like if I do have to do something about this cyst, or like am able to treat it or get it to go away or whatever, that could really help with the bite issues as well. But I guess I won't really know how that plays out until I actually do something about it. But in any case, that's my little update. I'm slightly less uncomfortable than I was the last several days, and maybe this discomfort won't last. Hopefully it won't last. But either way, it is pushing me to do my due diligence and do a little extra research and digging, talk to a few more people, basically get enough information where I feel like I can make an informed decision and move forward if I do need to sooner than later. It is the next day, and thankfully, but also kind of weirdly, all of the pain and discomfort I was feeling around that cyst is like basically completely gone. I have the tiniest bit of pressure that I still feel, but I would say it's like 95% better than it had been for the past like 5 days. So I don't know what was going on with that, like why it got so inflamed or whatever. Very glad that it has not persisted any longer than it did. I'm a little nervous that that might be like a new trend or could keep happening, but maybe that is just the little push I need to make sure I keep looking into this and getting some more information, so that if or when I do need to make a decision or move forward, I'm not scrambling to do that. And I think I mentioned I did reach out to 2 other practitioners, one that I have worked with before and one that was recommended to me by another person that I trust, and just wanted to like get their thoughts or opinions on this as well. Haven't heard back from them yet, but hopefully will at some point soon. At least feel like I am being a little bit proactive about gathering some more information. I'm gonna end off this video here. Thank you very much as always for watching. I hope you will stick around and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I will see you next week.